Chapter 5, Education, Licensure, and Certification. This chapter really focuses on CACREP, which is the Council for Accreditation of Counseling and Other Related Education Programs. CACREP, as we talked about in the previous chapters, CACREP sets the national standards for all the states. And so if your program that you graduate from is CACREP accredited, then it has to meet a specific curriculum model. And it talks about in the training of this profession, of the counseling profession, there's a three-pronged part. One is a training model, professional practice, and professional identity. So it starts off with the CACREP training model, the requirements for CACREP standards in the educational part of the program. So the curriculum model has core common curriculum, which are 8, and that's on page 103. So if you look at your textbook on page 103, you should notice that those 8 core areas are classes that you're receiving in this program as it is CACREP accredited. So you have your classes that talks about ethics, multicultural, human growth and development, career, counseling and the helping profession, group work, assessment, and research. So those are your 8 core areas. And those are also the 8 core areas that if you take the NCE that you're tested on. Now, one thing that people don't often recognize is that even within these 8 core curriculum areas, you have standards for specialization. So there may be classes outside of these 8 or also included in these 8 that you see things overlap. And it talks about on page 105 some of those specific things that overlap, like foundations, contextual dimensions, and practice. And in your foundations, contextual dimensions, and practice, what you see like in foundations is you see history. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at assessment, doesn't matter if you're looking at research, theories, you're going to get pieces of history in each of those classes. So it's not just a class on history. Theories and modalities, you're going to get theories classes, you're going to get theories in research, you're going to get theories in career, you're going to get theories and techniques, you're going to get theories in your addiction courses. So the foundations, contextual dimensions, and the practice, they all intertwine, and they're components of each one of them in all of these other classes too. They're not a class amongst themselves. They're a philosophy in each of your courses. And so that is part of that training model. And when you think about the professional practice, you've got that conceptual model of practice in that, which is part of your ability to do a thorough intake, a case conceptualization, but also the professional practice is part of the development in your internship classes. And those internship classes are focused on specific curriculum under CACREP that start off with your practicum having to be a minimum of 100 hours overall and 40 hours of that with clients, direct face-to-face time. And then you have internships, which depending on some schools have 1, 2, or 3 internships. Lindsay has 2. And within those 2 internships, you should get a minimum of 600 hours total and 240 hours direct face-to-face. Now, it doesn't matter if you're an internship or practicum. Under the CACREP standards, you're required to get 1 hour of supervision from the site supervisor, and that would be the person at the agency you're getting your internship and practicum hours at that's responsible for you, that person that's licensed, that's signing off on your paperwork. In your practicum and internship class, you also have a group supervisor, and that's the instructor that you're enrolled with in your course. And so you should, on each semester, average about 15 to 16 hours with the site supervisor and 24 hours with the class, which is the group supervision, for every semester of internship or practicum that you have. And so that is a big part of your professional practice, and that is under also standards of CACREP. The third part of professional identity is credentialing. And that can be done through registry, certification, or licensure. The first one is registry. And registry is the most simplest form, and it is also least restrictive. You're just registering who you are and what you do. As far as your ability to provide services, the biggest bonus part for a registry is just the fact that it has the ability for your referrals. So if you're on the registry, then you can get referrals real easy online because people can look you up because you're on a registry. Certification. There's different types of certification. Certification that most people are familiar with is the NCE. That is the National Counselor's Exam. And whether you're licensed yet or not, if you pass the NCE, then you do get a certification in that. NBCC provides that exam. It also provides the other exam, which is often used for other states' licensure, and that is the NCMHCE. Now, depending upon your state, how you go through the certification into licensure, or even if you need the certification part for your licensure, what you're going to be required has absolutely to do with your state regulations. And your state can say how many hours you need, what specific extra classes you need, and what type of requirements are required for their licensure. Now, on page 323, back in the back of your text, Appendix C, you can see all the state licensure places. So every state has a state licensure board. One of the issues with this is the fact that Virginia was the first state in 1976, the Virginia Board of Counseling, to have a licensure board for its state. And it took 30-something years before all the states were licensed, and that was the last one in 2009, with California being the last state that required licensure to provide therapy in their state. So prior to these states transitioning to having a board, anybody could call themselves a therapist without any specific or required training. So all the states now have licensure boards, and that because they did not come on together and they did not work together, they all did it independently, each state independently, then portability becomes an issue. Some states it's easier to ask for reciprocity from one state to the other, and some states don't. So some of the things while you're working towards your licensure, doing your training model here and going through and getting your hours, is that you want to know, one, what your state requires, two, what the portability of it is. A lot of people live close to different states, and so they want to know if they can work in other states around them. Because of the portability and because of CACREP combining licensure for mental health and the community mental health kind of into one, there's not been any consistency between the two of how they came to be. And the problem with that is they've absolutely caused inconsistency from state to state. And that has caused some controversy in what is acceptable and what's not. But overall, CACREP has started to get where CACREP has provided an outline that schools are following now, and the training model is beginning to be more specific and consistent. But those boundaries before caused a little bit of controversy of the training models. So some of the older models were more in the community mental health, social work type, and now you have newer places going toward more the licensed professional counselor. So one of the things that is going on kind of right now is the fact that there is an agreement that they want to have one name across those merged topics. So like one state might call their licensed person a mental health counselor, another state might call their licensed professional counselor, and another state might call theirs a licensed professional certified counselor. There is an agreement that there needs to be one name nationally, but nobody can agree on what that one name should be. So that's about all there is to Chapter 5. We'll start with Chapter 6, some ethics.